The MLB trade deadline has come and gone, and today we are going to talk about who won and who lost at the 2025 MLB trade deadline. A lot of moves happened, a lot of players changed teams, and we're going to break down the biggest winners and losers in today's video. But before we do that, if you're a diehard baseball fan, then subscribe right now. We're going to be live for the playoffs. We're going to be live for the World Series. Last year's World Series watch parties were absolutely awesome. They were an absolute party. And don't miss out. Latest news, rumors around Major League Baseball. In 2027, the CBA. That's going to be crazy. And we're going to talk about it here on the channel. So make sure you subscribe. We also have NFL, NBA, college football, anything you could imagine here at Chat Sports. So join the family. Help us get to 414,000 subscribers on today's video. The first winner, I think one of the most obvious winners, is the Seattle Mariners. I really like what they did at the deadline. I think the first one they made the first big trade of the deadline, bringing in Josh Naylor. I think that he brings exactly what the Mariners are looking for. They're looking for power. They're looking for a bat. They're looking for offense. They also brought in Caleb Ferguson, who I'm very bullish on. I think that he is a very awesome awesome player as well. And then the big trade. They won the Eugenio Suarez sweepstakes. They bring him in. They give Tyler Locklear, Hunter Cranton, and Juan Burgess to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are by far one of the biggest winners at the deadline, in my opinion. They only got better. In a race for the wild card where there are 4 other teams competing, they got better. And another team that is also competing for the wild card that also got better is the Texas Rangers. Now, originally I didn't have the Rangers on this list, but they continued to make moves, and I really liked the moves that they made. The first one they made was Danny Columbe. I have butchered that name all day, so please forgive me. I like that trade quite a bit. I think he's going to bring something really good to the pitching staff that's going to help bolster it at the end of the day. The big trade they made, though, was for Merrill Kelly. They won the Merrill Kelly sweepstakes. They gave away Crone Drake, Mitch Bratt, David Hageman, 2 top 10, 1 top 15 prospect, if I remember correctly, or 1 top 20 prospect. He might have been the 19th ranked prospect. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter. They bolstered a bullpen that was already one of the best in baseball. You bring in Merrill Kelly, who is a consistent presence on the mound always. When you were talking about Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen has the higher upside. He's got the higher ceiling, but Merrill Kelly is always consistently good. So if I wanted one of those pitchers, I would have gone with Merrill Kelly. And I think the Rangers made the right choice. And then they brought in Phil Maton from the Cardinals, a relief pitcher that I think is going to be very valuable to their bullpen. They needed bullpen help. There's no doubt about it. And bringing in Phil Maton, kind of at the buzzer, is a valuable addition to the Rangers. If you look at the wild card, there's 4 teams vying for 3 spots. The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mariners, and the Rangers. Now, I didn't talk about the Yankees in this video, but they would be another huge winner. They made some really great trades, including David Bednar, just to name a few. The only team that didn't get better, we'll talk about in our losers. But the Mariners and Rangers, who are tied for that 3rd wild card spot, both pack a punch at the deadline. And they did it in really big ways. I think probably the biggest winner of the day, though, is the San Diego Padres. They made the biggest, most surprising trades of the entire deadline. And we know that A.J. Preller loves to get active at the deadline, and my God, did he. The biggest trade of the entire deadline, in my opinion. Mason Miller, the stud relief pitcher. And J.P. Sears, a really valuable rotation piece. Go back to the Padres. You did have to give up Leo DeVries, the number 1 prospect in their system, and also named by many as a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. It was a hefty haul, but you got back some hefty names as well. I love this trade for the Padres. I also love it for the Athletics. I think it was a good trade for both sides. They also brought in a catcher, which they desperately needed. They brought in Freddie Fermin. I like this trade quite a bit as well. I thought that this was a good trade. And then they also won the day bringing in Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Liriano. Now, the details of this, they did have to give up 6 players, but you're bringing in a bat and O'Hearn that's going to be highly valuable to their offense, and Ramon Liriano, an outfielder, who they were desperately looking for outfield help. So they killed it. Then they brought in Will Wagner, who's not going to move the needle, but is still valuable. And They also brought in Nestor Cortez, who's also going to be added to the rotation. All in all, the Padres were by far the biggest winner of the deadline. They brought in the most, bulk, and they brought in probably the best value of anyone. So the Padres, AJ Preller, this is his signature. He goes out and he is active at the deadline every single year. And he absolutely killed it this year. We're going to talk about the losers here in a second, but you let me know. Biggest trade deadline winner. I think it's the Padres. I think the Mariners are a close second, but you let me know. Biggest trade deadline winner. I want to hear your thoughts. If you know me, you know I'm a Red Sox fan. And the Red Sox are by far one of the biggest losers of the deadline. So they bring in Steven Matz yesterday. They trade away Blaze Jordan, who is a fan favorite prospect, top 20 prospect. But you get Steven Matz, who I don't hate. Solid, consistent, non-volatile addition to a bullpen that is very volatile. I don't hate that trade whatsoever. Then you bring in Dustin May from the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you give up James Tibbs, who was the headliner of the Rafael Devers trade. You also trade away Zach Earnhardt. And you pull off highway robbery. You were in on Mackenzie Gore. There were rumors about Joe Ryan. You didn't get the job done. Those were the only two moves the Red Sox made. When Craig Breslow, the GM of the Red Sox, consistently said that they were going to be very aggressive, Alex Cora was saying how excited he was for the deadline because the Red Sox were going to be aggressive. They were going to be making moves. They were going to be doing this. They were going to be doing that. And they didn't. They lost out on Merrill Kelly. They lost out on Ryan O'Hearn. They lost out on everyone they were looking at. Yandy Diaz didn't get traded. The Red Sox are a huge loser in my book. San Francisco Giants are also a big loser. The main fact of why they are is because they made the first splash move of the entire deadline months ago, trading for Rafael Devers. Since then, they've been horrible, and they turned into sellers. They traded away Tyler Rogers, who was a really, really, integral part of their pitching staff. They trade away Camilo Duvall to the New York Yankees. They trade away Mike Yastrzemski to the Kansas City Royals. They went from being a team that was like, oh my gosh, they got Rafael Devers, this is crazy, to being a bad team and selling at the deadline. I mean, I think by far they are some of the biggest losers of the deadline. Strictly because they were selling. And it was just an unfortunate thing to see for the San Francisco Giants. The last but not least, I think the biggest losers are the Minnesota Twins. I believe the stat that I read was the Twins traded away 10 of their 26 active players at the deadline, including, but not limited to, Jhoan Duran, Griffin Jax, just to name a few. Harrison Bader. Let me see. I'm going to look. Just to name a few. They had a complete and utter fire. So now I get it. They're not in the race. They're 9 games back in the Central. They're not a good team. They were going to sell. It made perfect sense. But to sell 10 of your 26 active players, including 2 very valuable relievers. Now, they didn't sell Joe Ryan. The Red Sox, according to reports, made a push for Joe Ryan, but it didn't happen. So, I don't know. But at the end of the day, you did trade away some key pieces. Griffin Jax was one of them. You did get Josh Bradley back, which is interesting. You trade away, a lot of pieces. You brought back Ty France. That's an interesting trade. But they didn't do anything to move the needle. A lot of what they did was just sell. So, for that reason, I feel for Twins fans. I think the losers probably Twins fans, maybe not the Twins, but Twins fans in general. That's where we're going to wrap it up. You let me know biggest trade deadline loser down below in the comments. I think it's probably Twins fans because you traded away almost half of your team. But you let me know. Who's the biggest trade deadline loser at this year's 2025 MLB trade deadline. That's where we're going to end it, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, go down below in the comments. Let me know. Biggest winner, biggest loser. I think the biggest winner is by far excuse me. It's not even the A's. It's the Padres. The San Diego Padres, I think, are the biggest winner. And I would say Minnesota Twins fans are the biggest loser. But you let me know down below in the comments. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. NBA, NFL, MLB, college football, any sport under the sun, we cover it here at Chat Sports. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and join the family today.